Okay, let's boot this up. So, I'm sure nobody knows what Eternal is, but I play this game pretty often. It's a Magic the Gathering derivative. And I thought, since the new season or whatever, that I would open up all the card packs I have, because I have way too many. So, I recommend this game. It's pretty fun. It's probably the best free-to-play Magic derivative you can get that isn't actually Magic, but, well, it's gonna be a couple months before you have enough cards to really compete, I think. You can draft, you can, oh yeah, this is the new set. You can draft, you can play ranked, you can play against the computer. It's all super good. You can also link it to your Twitch and get premium cards and sometimes draft tickets. All right, awesome. Is that really all I got for the end of the season? Am I able to open up the new card packs? Well, I can draft. All right, we'll wait for that, I think. We'll open one. All right, let's see. I don't know what any of these cards do, so let's see. That's not great. Freaking Troublemaker. A skunk. Any unit, your choice, can't block. Freaking Troublemaker. Interesting. It's like a... I can see this being good for draft. 5. For 2, that's not necessarily terrible. This is a new market card. It's basically like an extra deck you can trade cards from your hand in from usually. There's some other cards that interact with the market, but those are really hard to deal with. This is just for that one. A card. Let it spell this turn. Yeah, it's not great. 2, create and draw treasure trove. Also not great. There's reprints. Okay. Sacrifice a unit. Play heirloom blade for 4 or less. All right. Enemy unit. This one I can see being a little more useful because it's flying on it, but Star Mole deals double damage this turn. Ah, interesting. This could be good for draft, I think, maybe. Versatile. Played as either a relic weapon or a unit. Interesting. Draw just a decision from your deck. I mean, it's ramp, but I wouldn't say that's great. And my rare is Grove Craftsman. Weapons hunts. It hunts an additional card. Interesting. Hunt is, well, I mean, you can read it there. Basically, you make the opponent discard a card, and then if it hits the condition, you get the unit that hunts gets +1/+1. All right. All the way over here, and we'll just start with this from the beginning of time. I know what all these do, so I'm not going to read the room. But, I have a bunch of him already. He was pretty good for his time, but, things change. Ooh, legendary. Love the first dragon. 7? Play 4 random 1-cost units. Somehow I don't think it's that good. If you're playing red, which is the same as red in Magic, basically, you're, oh, did they add additional rares to the older packs too? Heck yes. Okay. Like a while back, they were like, oh yeah, in all the new packs that you get, you have a chance of getting an additional rare from like a different set, because there's reprints in here. But it would appear that they've added the chance for double rares from all the packs, I guess, which is awesome. This is a pretty good one too. Or not? Excuse me? I think I need to file a bug report. I'm upset about this now. Oh, that's upsetting. What? All right. Oh, and now my card packs don't work. All right, let's try this again. Very strange. All right, is this one gonna be a rare too? Oh, okay. I don't have him, I think. And discard their hands. All their units. That's that's pretty fun. Neat. 7's kind of high, and he's got 3 pips. Oh, and for anyone that doesn't know, in Eternal, you just need to have the enough of the color. Then it's all just in the number. You don't have to worry about it once you meet the condition for that. So just it's a little different. I like it a little better. Makes the cards easier to read. Oh, West Wind, yeah. I mean, it's flying in Aegis, but for 5, eh. Do all units. Oh, this one's pretty good. You know, I have 4 of those already, but you know, well, it's a good card. Yeah, this sees niche play, but eh, not a great rare. A little lag there. Frontier Jito. Your units with charge. Oh, this was using a niche strategy. I don't know if 1-cost units are really all that good anymore for that kind of thing, but it was a pretty good card. Each undamaged enemy unit becomes 1. This is pretty niche, I think. There's a better card you can drop down for 4 that reduces both stats depending on whether they block or not. So, here we go. I think my cards are gonna break again. Champion of Cunning is a really good card. I use it in a blue-purple deck, but yeah, of course. All right. Now I imagine it's gonna break again. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go back here. We're just gonna have to keep doing this. Divining Rod. Share a battle skill with the welder. So if you play this on a thing with no battle skill, so if you play it on something with flying, everything with flying will get there. But if you play it on something like this, it doesn't do anything. You just discard. Just discard cards. Not the best look if you're not going for a theme. Reliquary Raider. I used this for a while, but just doesn't. Either you lose it attacking or you lose it defending. Just seems to be its problem. You can't force people to attack you, at least not consistently. Like in Aegis, this thing's super annoying when you have to fight the computer against it, but otherwise it's just too costly, I think. You can stick flying on things in a lot of different ways, especially through green. Deadly and Quick Draw, which is the first strike if you've been playing Magic. It's a good combo, gotta say. Alright, this is not a great card. You play it so late in the game, and at that point there are better ways to draw cards for the cost. Play 5/5 Sentinel. If you have more, play 5 Sentinels instead. I actually had a life gain deck where I used this, but either it's a dead card in your hand, or it's really good. So it's more of like a win more card, I think. All right. Play a unit from your void. There are better ways to do this. Okay, there are better ways to do this. And the last one for the first set. Oh, of course. Champion of Progress isn't bad, but he's just big. There are better cards I think you can put down for 6, especially considering you have to have 6 of each to get the full benefit. So let's there we go. All right. Wish on Future. I also use this card. Warp is pretty fun for power because it's basically like having an extra card in your hand, but it's just too costly to use now. I'd rather just draw a card, to be quite honest with you. Ooh, okay. What do we get? Noxious Lord of Vision. So Mentor. Mentor is like you give it stuff and you exhaust it. And each copy in your hand and deck. Oh, that's neat. Well, that's pretty cool. I think it's kind of high costed for green blue, but I'm sure there's a deck that uses it very well. I know the computer has a deck, but the computer cheats, so can't take anything it says for granted. Oh, and of course, you know, I could have gotten a legendary, but instead I got a rare. What do we get? Of course. This one's not bad either. Invulnerable to damage on your turn and gaining permanent attack power basically means that you can always swing with it as long as you have 4 pips in green. There you go. That's the Carrier. Spells deal +1 damage. I mean, it's a 3 for 3/3 flying. The spell damage is kind of a bonus, but I don't know if I would run this. This is like good for draft, I would say. There are just better cards with flying that do other things. It's unlikely that 1 spell damage is really going to make or break your experience. Library Phoenix. Start every turn, reduce cards in your hand by 1. Oh yeah, this card was really fun for red decks back in the day. As a 4-drop, which is pretty much where you want to curve out. Sometimes you want to go to 5, it depends. It's not too bad. Let's see. Everett's Horn. Unfortunately, you don't get like there's a way to stick Overwhelm on cards, but it's like 2 different cards, and it's not that great. Hate this card. Very well costed, and the computer plays it a lot. It's also fast. All right, gotta keep doing this every time we get a double. To just implement doubles in these packs, and no one would complain. These packs are basically dead at this point. Strangers have ages. I have one of these. Strangers are basically the I forget what they're called. They just apply everything to all strangers on the board. Magic has an equivalent to this. I forget what they are. They're like sticks or something. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Let's keep going. Lifesteal, Mentor. 3 for 3 lifesteal. This is good for draft. You know, there are better ways to get lifesteal on the targets without having to play a creature that you can't use to block. Next. Alright. I've seen the computer play this a lot. It's once again, it's a 3 for 3/3. You get lifesteal, so like it can help you move the health pool in your favor. It'll help you last a turn, but there are better weapons. There are better weapons. Alright, next. Sand Spitter. Increase the cost of each spell enemy hand by 1. I would say it's a good card. Definitely great for draft. I don't know if I would play it per se, but you know, it's good. Dream Satcher. I have 4 of these actually. Really good because there's a card that makes the opponent mill based on the damage you deal, which means that as long as this thing gets to keep swinging, you get to keep milling cards and gaining life at an exponent. Well, I guess it's a linear rate, right? But it's very good. Very good. When you play against the computer, it always destroys it. Crap heap. You're granted of charge. Not a great card. So Grenadins are like the goblins of Magic the Gathering, and there are really good Grenadin cards, but I don't know how to describe this. No matter how many times I've tried to make a Grenadin deck, it just never works out. It always has to be some other deck as well in order to make them useful, and at that point, trying to adhere to the Grenadin theme just doesn't seem really justifiable. But you know, there are enough cards that you could make a working deck. All right, next. Eat an enemy spell and put it into your hand. Not a bad card. Great for draft. Bisma Reveal Elder. So there's this unseen, they all have weird abilities on them. They're all about battle skills, and this guy gets a bunch of them. And there's, the computer has a deck where he plays a bunch of these things, and then this guy gets one, and then other people get one in his hand, and it's weird. This is a key player in one of those. This is a thing for Sentinels, basically big fuck off monsters, right? Usually have big costs and big attacks, right? This is pretty good. There was a deck I used that involved making a bunch of relics, which are basically enchantments if you play Magic, and bringing one Sentinel back to life repeatedly, this giving you extra power and stuff like that, but they nerfed a bunch of the cards because it was degenerate in other decks, so I don't really play that one too much anymore. Combustion Cell. 1 power, 2 power. This is like another thing where you constantly have to have material to do this, and there are just better ways to get +1 power, like having more mana in your deck. There is never really a time where sacrificing a Grenadin, in my opinion, would be worth the +2 power, because you have to play this first, you know, and then you have to actually use it, which means that the condition of actually using this effectively is kind of ridiculous. That's assuming that they don't realize what you're doing and they don't kill all your cards anyway. Grenadins are tiny, so it's really easy to get rid of them very easily. +2 for each. This one's interesting. This would be another thing where you have to have it in your Grenadin deck because basically your entire graveyard will be filled with Grenadins. Let's see. Ellen's Frustrator, stun 2 enemy units. Like, this is a, I don't know, this is a draft card. It's got flying, and it's 4/4, so it's pretty big, but it costs a lot, and stun only lasts for 2 turns. So, unless you're going to use this to help you swing, I would say that if you need to use this to swing in, at this point, like at that point, you've either already won or it's too late. So, it's not the worst card in the world. Fade. Fade is, it happens when you draw it. Only the Explorer Dinosaur in your hand with the least gets plus. Terrible card. Absolutely terrible card. I mean, in terms of its raw value and stats, I suppose it's fine, but turn 7 is really hard to get to these days. Terrible card. Terrible card. I've seen this guy used on and off. It's actually really good, especially if you're doing relics. And if you're doing sentinels, you're probably doing relics. So I usually put him in the market. It's kind of niche. I've never really been able to consistently deal more than 4 damage to the opponent in one game with one of these. By the time you hit 5 mana, if they're not crushing you, you're crushing them. So I wouldn't run 4 of them. The max amount of any card you can have, except for basic mana, is 4. Nightfall, give one of your killer. Oh, this one's really good. Dinosaurs got an expansion pack a year ago, and the dinos in it are really, really good. So, all right, that's it with the Dusk Road. Didn't get any weirdness in that one. Time for the Fall of Argenport. You get all these from golden chests, so your chests have a chance to like rank up, and most of these are ones that I've gotten from chests that have ranked up. I didn't pay for these. Warp. Negate an enemy spell, draw a card. I mean, with Warp, it's pretty good, and you get to draw a card. But for 4, kind of a big ask. But you do get a card, so it's not the worst card. Great for draft. Soulbringer. Give it +1/+1. This one's not bad. There's lots of weird shadow cards and decks these days that involve playing cards from your graveyard, doing lots of weird things and recursion, summoning lots of powerful monsters or monsters that are designed to be sacrificed, or monsters that are designed to be tossed at the enemy and then discarded later, so you can bring them back over and over and over again. Pretty decent card. All right, what did we get? Thundering Carousel. Overwhelm. Either player places a spell, the other player draws a card. I mean, a 6 for 8/8 is really good. It's got 4 pips on it, so it's kind of difficult to get out depending on the situation. But I don't know if I like the other player being allowed to draw cards. I suppose if you have very few spells in your deck, it's not a big deal, but it's a good card. I would be careful with this. Just be careful. All right. When Thunder Giant attacks, he does 3 damage to each enemy unit if you play a spell this turn. This is a very strange board wipe for 8. I don't know if this is really that amazing because you also have to play a spell. So, I mean, you have to wait 1 turn to attack with it anyway. And at that point, it's entirely possible it will disappear before you even get to use this. So I would prefer a spell. And there are spells that deal 3 damage anyway. So, it also kind of depends on when it deals the damage too. So I wouldn't say that's an amazing card by any means. Acquisitive Crow. Thanks. Create and draw a random spell. So I mean, this is good because it's got flying. Berserk basically means that you can make it attack twice rather, 1 time, and then every other time it is forced to attack every turn. With flying, that's not too bad. And you get a spell, right? So it's card draw. It's technically advantage if you can attack with this multiple times. And there are cards that trigger off of you drawing cards, right? So this could be very good. I would say this is a good card, appropriately costed, and it forces your opponent to deal with it. Otherwise, you're going to gain advantage. There aren't too many amazing 1-cost cards, but there's lots of removal at 1. So You might want to get rid of it. Okay, we have him already. Just not an amazing card, I would say. Oh no, here we go. All right, Honored Skyguard. Pay 2 and discard a card to give Honored Skyguard +1/+1 and draw a card. I mean, it's card draw, but for 4, you're getting a 3/3 and 1 card. I mean, there are. Okay, so this, on the surface, this may not seem amazing. It's a 2/2 for 2, so if you're drafting this, I would say, yeah, it's flying, take it. But there are cards that trigger off of using an ultimate. So this card is better than it appears, but it really depends. And what would we get here? All right. Okay. We're getting there. Got 100 in that one. That sure is something. Let's see. What do we get? When you play a spell, region disciple gets double damage this turn. This is another weird unseen thing. I mean, double damage is pretty good, but you can't really stick it on anything. But as a 2 for 2/3, it's good. It's good for draft. Oh no. Well, I don't know what we got. Oh well. This bug has happened before. You still do get the cards, right? But you just don't get to see what they are, which is annoying. It's really annoying when you have to draft as well. There's like an event you can do where you get cards, and then you make a deck out of them. I think it's called Constructed. I don't remember what it is in Magic the Gathering. It's been a while. But it's really annoying to think about what you want to make. You can't see the cards, and we're doing this again. Oh no, here we go. Okay, just some lag. It's okay. What do we get? Okay, we are good. I love duplicates. So, it's good. It's good. All right, Bear's Nightshade. This one's interesting because you can basically use this to get free card draw. Black. Purple has a lot of life gain, so 3 damage doesn't seem like it seems kind of high, but it's not so bad. Also, your life starts at 25, so it's a little bit more of a buffer. This is a pretty good card. Definitely would draft this card if it came up. Units can't fly. I wouldn't say this is bad. There's a lot of ways to obtain this, like this effect, right? There's a creature that does it. I really, really hate Sandstone Titan, which does the same thing. It's an aggressively costed card that is, it's just too good. They're never going to nerf it because it's iconic. But for drafting purposes, this is really nice if you don't plan on running any flyers. This basically evens the field all the time. All right. Okay, I was expecting Thundering 11? Okay, let's see what this does. Lifesteal. So it costs 3 less if you have a unit in your void, 3 less if you have a spell in your void, and 3 less if you have an attachment in your void. That's pretty good. That's really easy to get. So it's like, what, -9? So it's like a 4-costed card. Even then, like by the time you have 4 mana, it's entirely possible that you'd have all of that in your graveyard, especially if you use any of the mana searching spells, or if you have a unit that died with a weapon on it. So that's not bad. I mean, it's not amazing, but it's not bad. All right, Lifesteal 4/5, pretty good. All right, next pack, Defiance. Burn them all. Deal 5 damage to an enemy. Amplify. Amplify is you pay the costs when you cast the card. So you would need a total of 8 mana in order to do the Amplify. You can amplify as many times as you want, though. So as long as you have the mana, you can deal 5 additional damage to whoever you want. Basically, red, blue doesn't really have a lot of ramp. So you wouldn't be able to like instantly, murk somebody with this. But you would maybe be able to get off, you should at least be able to get off, at endgame, you should be able to get off 10 damage, maybe 15. You'd have to have some sort of weird yellow or green in order to supplement your need for the mana, but this is at least 8 damage, I would say. Choose a card from your hand to swap. Okay, this is one of the market cards. Basically, the type of card it is, when you play it, you can choose to swap a card from your hand into the market. That counts as a draw, so it triggers draw effects. And this is one of the ones that are combined. So you can pick, in this case, you can pick a yellow or you can pick a purple. You can't pick colorless cards, though, I'm pretty sure. So be careful. The market is really fun, but also kind of degenerate depending on how it goes. So it's basically choosing to get a card you want, just make sure it doesn't get negated. Aegis, your other units. Okay, this one's not bad. The fact that it has Aegis means it's really hard to get rid of, which means once you put it on the board, your opponent has to, usually, there are some other cases, but usually they have to spend at least 2 cards getting rid of it, and that means that you have room to play other stuff. So, I mean, it's kind of high costed, but it is a huge nuisance once it hits the field. Don't know if I'd run it though. Definitely a draft pick, for sure. Yetis are also kind of like goblins. It's weird. Grenadins are like red goblins and Yetis are like blue goblins. I don't know how to describe it. They're weird. There's a lot of weird. If you're used to Magic, there's quite a bit of mix up between like all the different stuff. Blue is not quite as degenerate as blue is in Magic the Gathering. Thank God. Stun an enemy unit. Okay, so already this is really good. So pledge is on the first turn you can play it as a sigil. So like if you're pretty sure you're not going to need it, or you need the mana because you want to play the other cards on curve, this is perfect. Inscribe is better because you can play it whenever you want, but pledge isn't too bad. When you put it down, it stuns an enemy unit, so like it makes it a lot easier for you to swing. And then renown is when you play something on it. I don't know if that really matters because the renown effect is not amazing, but like if you play any spell or weapon on it, you get the effect. So this is a really dense card. For 4, it's not bad for its stats. I would say totally playable, would totally work in a Yeti deck, I'm sure. Bunch of talents. Flying, amplify. Oh, okay, so this is a weapon, and when you play it on a unit, it gets that effect. So, okay, this is really good. You're probably only gonna get 1 dragon off of this, but if you have 8 mana, you play this on the thing, it gives you flying, and you get 2 5/5s. For all the cost of 2 mana after the initial mana cost. This is really good. This is very good. Let's do flying. This is one of those things where like you put it down and then it becomes better once you pull it from the graveyard. There are plenty of shadow decks that do this. I just think this card takes too long to be useful. But because there are cards that make you draw. I would rather draw than do this, right? But I guess we'll find out. By the way, this is what the premium stuff looks like. It looks all shiny, and then sometimes it has like additional stuff on the border depending on its rarity. Premium cards get dusted for much more. That's what this is up here, the Shift Stone. They're pretty generous with the Shift Stone you get. You get 100 every pack, so it's pretty good. Let's see. And you get a lot of cards. Every chest you open gives you at least 1 card. Street Urchin. The enemy player plays a spell. Street Urchin deals 1 damage to them. Pay 3 and twist Street Urchin to draw the top card of the enemy deck. I mean, okay, so the first effect is pretty good. So for one, them constantly taking damage from playing spells, assuming they have spells, is not bad, right? Dinking for 1 is pretty good, and because there's lots of life draw in Shadow, you get a lot of like this could really swing the game in your favor. Paying 3 to twist. I guess as many. Okay, so twisting. Basically, it gets +1, -1. So you're limited by the amount of health you have. Though I think you can take it to 0 if you really want to. This is like drawing cards off the top of the enemy deck is kind of a screw you kind of move. I don't know if I'd be like, oh yes, I need to draw it right now, unless you know. So there are cards that place cards on top of their deck. So like if you know that there's something on there that you want, like they just buff the card and then put it on top of their deck so that way they could draw it again to trigger some draw effects. You might want to steal it, but I would say it's the first effect that makes this really good. And at 1, that's great. Yeah, good card, great card. Oh, I should probably mention I'm not super amazing at this game, so take my words with a grain of salt. But I would say that generally I can tell the good cards from the bad cards. Shift 7. You'll find, okay, this is a terrible card. I'll explain. So when you shift, you can, whatever the number is, you can pay that cost to shift it instead of summoning it. What it does is it basically makes it almost untouchable for 3 turns. And then when you shift it, it does the shift effect, right? Sometimes it'll be after it emerges, which is I think that's what that's called. Yeah, emerge, here we go. After 3 turns shifted, units emerge and get unblockable. So sometimes it happens when it emerges, sometimes it happens when you shift it, but paying 7 to deal 5 damage is pretty bad. I mean, it's a 3 for 5/1, so for drafting, just putting it down, I would say is pretty good, but there are very few cases. Okay, and you actually have to have the mana to do this too. You can't just like pay the cost and then, just leave it alone. You have to pay the cost. So if you don't have 7 mana, it's kind of worthless. So unless you want a 5/1, and I mean, like 1 is really fragile. It doesn't have any other stats on it. It doesn't have like overwhelm. It doesn't have lifesteal. It doesn't have flying. That'd be ridiculous if it had that. But it's not an amazing card. This would be decent in draft because it's a 3/5/1, but I wouldn't even put weapons on it. It's so frail. Not an amazing card. Not an amazing rare, I must say. Livia Hexweaver. Okay, this one's interesting because so endurance is, I forget what it is in Magic, but it's the one where it untaps at the end of the turn, right? So that way you can block with it. I think it's vigilance. I think that's what it is. This basically makes it so that way they can't block even though they untap, right? Onslaught is when any unit you have attacks, right? So like you throw something out, it gets the effect. This is not. There was a time where playing multiples of a unit was more common. I suppose now with Unleash you can play multiples that way, but this card is pretty good. This card's pretty good. It's got lifesteal on it, which means that you can swing. And if there's only one unit on the field, that makes it easier for you to swing. And it just gets better the more units they have with the same name. So good card, good card. Ice Bolt. Oh, I needed another one of these. Nice. Okay, this card is busted. 7 damage to a unit. Its owner plays a sigil from their deck depleted. Ice Bolt can't be negated. So basically, this card kills just about everything, except for cards that state they can't be killed, and cards that have more than 7, right? Regardless of how you play it, it always gives advantage to your opponent. But this is also really nice because you can play it on any unit, so you can play it on one of yours and play a sigil, so that way you can have the mana for next turn. Which if they're gonna steal your unit, or they're gonna like make you sacrifice it or something like that, this is not a bad card to have because it could turn your dead unit into an advantage, as well as being really great removal for most of the game. Like there are cards that this won't kill, but there are only a few. So, and Aegis, which will block any spell, won't stop it, and they can't use any spells to negate it. So they literally would need to buff the unit to get more health to have it killed. All right, Flames of Zolta. This is like some alternate reality past or something that all these cards are from that technically exist that come through. I don't know. The lore in this game is pretty interesting, but it's not super amazing. There's not enough details to really get invested, I think. Banaka Lore Master. +1/+1 for each other Yoni. Okay. So, I don't know. Onis are also kind of like goblins. It's hard to describe. Red has a lot of weird things that hit. Onis like weapons. They like buffing themselves, right? And this is a part of a cornerstone of a greater Oni deck, right? Green and red Onis are pretty much the name of the game. Mastery is basically when it deals enough damage. When it gets enough damage counters on it, it does the effect, right? Mastery 6 is pretty big, but like if you have Onis are relatively cheap. There are expensive ones, but I don't think I've seen one go above 5. And even then, that's like 1 out of like most of them. Like look at this one, right? This one is 3. Also a pretty decent card, right? It's very easy to get 6 damage if you have enough cards on the field. The only thing I would say is Onis are pretty susceptible to board wipes, but if you know what you're doing, it's not a problem. Good card. Very good card. All right. Nice. Ooh, it's a sight. I don't have a lot of these. So this is basically a kind of a planeswalker, sort of, kind of. I forget. Magic had this thing too. It's like a story or something like that. It has 3 effects, and then it does something at the end when all 3 of the cards have been played. Basically, it plays a unit. When you attack with 1 or more units, you can play a random power card from your deck. Oh, it's costing 7 though. That's pretty nuts. But basically, you cost every turn you must cast one of those cards, and you get to cast it for free. So for 7, you get at least one of these effects. So that's not bad. What is the brand Archmagister? When you play another card, you get 1 power this turn. Interesting. I feel like 4 is pretty high, so like they're gonna have to swing with a few units. But I feel like you'd need to have some sort of weird ramp strategy to really get use out of this, I think. But you know, it's cool. I like sites. It's cool. You drop them down, they do cool stuff. There's a lot of good ones. Just don't know if I would run that in my deck unless I was really sure. Reality Breaker. Elemental? Deal 1 damage to a unit. If that damage kills the unit, choose an additional unit. Repeat this ability with the damage increased by 1. Okay, well, this is your Grenadine killer. I wouldn't run this in my deck, but yeah, you never know. This seems like a lot of fun, a lot of flavor, but I might run it in draft, but its cost is really high. I don't think so. I don't think it's a good card. Draconic Ire. Kill an enemy attachment, then deal damage equal to its cost. Then deal damage equal to cost of the enemy player. Bargain. Hit the enemy player with a dragon. Oh, can be played from your market if it's... Oh! What? Dragons were pretty big in Flames of Zulta, right? And can be played from your market. So basically, if you hit someone with the dragon type monster, you can just play this. I think you might have to cast it. I don't know. That seems really cool. I haven't seen any cool effects with bargain on it so far. That's nuts. All right. Ooh, I run him in one of my decks, so I have a premium of him now. Very nice. Daring Griffin. Flying Exalted. Exalted, when it dies, its stats and all of its effects go on someone else, but it has Reckless, so be careful. When the enemy player plays a spell, sacrifice Daring Griffin to negate it. I feel like this thing would die before you cast your spell, but, you know, I digress. Like, if it had Aegis on it, you know, I could see, but Okay, Izuzi, Kodash Listener. Double damage, Invoke, pick a random card from 3 that it picks for you, and then Mastery 10. Okay, this is a trash card. This is bad. This is a card where it's, oh, you just put something on it. I know it has double damage, but, you know, at most, I'd be getting it's a 1/1 with double damage, so at most I'd be getting a 4/4 with double damage, and I think that there's better ways to do this. This is not a good card. Invoking is not as powerful as you think it is. Shenra Speaks. Oh, this is removal. It's basically... It costs a lot more, it's a lot harder to get out because of the pips, but basically if there's weird effects on enemy units when they die, this stops that from happening. So, it's run at 4 in a lot of decks. It's ridiculous. It's annoying, I don't like that card. It's very good, I just don't like it. Conservatory Alchemist. When you play a curse, your units get +1. Not a good card, not a good card. Oh, Shenra Unbreakable. I have 4 of these already, so this is just a bonus. Yeah, 800. All right. She is really good because you stick so you can't play weapons on her, but you can stick other effects on her using like spells or whatever. And basically, she can always swing. So if you stick Warcry, which is Warcry is really good. The next unit in your deck gets +1/+1. That's the benefit of being digital cards. So the next unit in your permanently gains +1/+1. You stick like any amount of Warcry on her, she can always swing, even if she's blocked. And eventually she becomes more powerful with +3/+3. It takes 5 turns if you're not buffing her in any way, but man, she is a good card. Oh, it says legendary, but it's a rare. Oh, come on. Oh, well. Flying. Each unit without flying is -3/-3 this turn. I mean, it's 6 for a board wipe, basically. But this might be decent in draft. Slayer's Edge. Not a bad card for dragon-based decks. All right. Haven't had to do this in a while. All right, last pack. Harmony of Flame. You get 1 power for this turn for each of your units. So you need at least 4 units to break even. Reduce the cost of each spell in your deck by 1. So, I mean, basically you can play this card for free. But at turn 4, which is ideally when you should have 4 mana, I can't really say this is the best card to have. This is another one of those, I need a large field advantage for this to really work out. And, you know, you might, but I feel like there are better cards that you could do that have an immediate effect than almost playing it for free. And even then, you're probably going to end up playing it at least 1 or 2. Not a good card, I would say. Probably great in specific situations, but Member of Unity. The wielder is invulnerable to damage on your turn. Your units that share a type with the wielder cost 1 less. For 2, that's not terrible. It doesn't give you any health, but it basically means that you can turn any card on the field into a nuisance. Like, this is definitely a Minotaur card. Minotaurs are they have effects that buff themselves, but they're like, oh yeah, you play a weapon and then like something weird happens. So I feel like that's what this is for. I just don't know. Like, I feel like because it doesn't give any extra health, immediately it'll get dinked. It'll get destroyed. All right, let's see. Jade Horn. I remember this being pretty good. So corrupted means that once it's destroyed, it becomes a it becomes another unit, so you can block with it, and it has it basically has the same effect, but you have to pay a certain cost for it. Jade Horn, I remember being pretty good. Plus, you can pledge it, so decent card, definitely draftable. 3 for 3/3. You know, it's got War Cry on it, so you know you're encouraged to swing with it. Pretty decent card. Would recommend. Definitely drafted. Let's see. Strange Burglar. He's a stranger? I don't remember this card. When a player plays a stranger, I have a stranger deck, so I should know what most of them do, but play a stranger, they get +1 this turn, pay 2, exhaust Strange Burglar, and sacrifice another unit to draw 3 cards. And take 3 damage. I mean, so it's aggressively costed. A 4 for 5/4 is pretty decent. So, I mean, you could do worse for the stats. And if you're playing a stranger deck, basically any you can run this as like a weird hybrid deck, and any unit you play will get +1, right? That includes when you play this card. But its secondary effect, sacrifice another unit to draw 3 cards. I mean, if you need the card, sure, and you don't have to discard the cards afterward. It's just, I think if you're destroying your units to draw cards at this point, you're kind of, oh, no, I'm not going to restart my client. I just kind of think that it's a little bit too much. We'll do that. We're almost reaching an hour, so by the time we get to the 100 packs I gotta open, I'll make that a separate video. All right, let's see. Shield of the Line. I'm sure this card is really good in a very specific deck, but I can't think of any reason you would want to do this. Like you need this card on the, it's a 1 cost, so I mean it's easy to put on the field, but you need this card on the field, and you need a bigger unit. I'd rather have a unit that's more capable, that isn't reliant on something else being on the field for it to do its thing. Maybe it's got charge, so maybe it's great, but you know, somehow paying 4 to get this effect doesn't seem worth it to me. I'd rather have a weapon. For 4, there's a lot of great weapons that cost 4 or less. This doesn't seem that good. Brutal Frostlight. That is some bitchin' art, I gotta say. God damn. Flying Killer. Killer is basically you can slam its face into another unit as an attack, only once. Pay 7 to do 1 damage for each card in their hand. 7's a lot. I would say it's good alone for the flying. Killer makes it even better because it's also got high health, so you can easily, break somebody down. But that's pretty funny, and you can pay 7 as much as you want. Dang. All right. All right. Good card. Would draft. Bodhi and Rocks. Oh, this one's. Oh no, I'm thinking of the legendary. That's pretty good. They have some really funny art. The end of your turn, if you have no cards in your hand, draw Bodhi and Rocks from your deck. Pretty good. Giants are kind of like Sentinels. They're unlike Sentinels that are based on like dealing damage and beating you up. These have like weird effects, like put cards back in the opponent's deck, or stun a unit and it stays stunned because it has flying. Weird stuff like that. Other types of big cards that aren't specifically Sentinels. I would run it. Abyssal Scrying. Draw cards equal to the highest cost among your relics. Bad card, you need a relic, and then you need a high costing relic, and it costs 6, so I'm not feeling this one, dude. Okay. Volatility. Draw each spell and dragon with cost 5 or more from the top 10 cards of your deck. The rest of the bottom. That's pretty nuts. That's like I don't know. It's like a Yu-Gi-Oh card where it's like draw a level 7 card or higher. That's what that reminds me of. And for 2, that's not too bad. Legend Ghost Blade, equal to your maximum power. Okay, so at least it's at least a 3/6 probably. Well, yeah, yeah. You can make cards cost less, but you're probably not running those with this color combination. Probably not. When it hits the enemy, draw 2 cards. When an enemy player hits a unit, they silence you, Jimba. Wow. Gee, yeah, terrible card. I take it back. Terrible card. Okay, sure. If it had charge and unblockable, sure. Yeah. No. All right. No, it's okay. All right. Argent Depths. Oh no. Oh, here we go. Okay. Hasty Builder. Your ultimate abilities are fast. Okay, so you can play them. Oh, fast means you can play them on the opponent's turn. Ultimate, pay 2 to shuffle. I suppose you can also play them in response to things on your turn. Your ultimate abilities are fast. Ultimate, pay 2 to shuffle the void of your choice into its opponent's deck. There are better ways to put a deck, a graveyard of your choice into someone's deck. And because it has 3 yellow pips, I would say that this is not a great card. It's a 2 for 3/2, but chances are you're gonna need at least 3 mana to play this, maybe 4, depending on how bad your luck is. Not a good card. There's literally a 4-cost card already that has better stats, and you can just choose who you want. It happens when you summon it, and when it dies, it makes copies of itself. So any modifications you make to it get added to your deck. So, bad card. Let's see. From Within. To give one of your units +2/+1. Charge and decay this turn. Transmute. Transmute means that the card changes, so you don't get a choice. It just happens. Which is why I don't really like these cards unless you specifically know the transmute is better. Give one of your units +2/+1. Charge and decay this turn. It's a fast spell, so this is a pump card. It's pretty nice. But if you have 3 factions in your deck for some reason, and you're able to get this, which is pretty rare, 3 in a 3-faction deck, 3 pips in a 3-faction deck is not usually obtainable easily. You're gonna have to there's gonna be a lot of losses where you just don't quite have what you need. When a spell is played directly on one of your units, it gets +2/+2. Okay. Surge. Surge is when you gain pips. So there are cards that just give you power and don't give you influence, which is what the pips are. Flying Killer Aegis or Berserk at random. Terrible card. If you're running a mono red or 2-color, sure. If you're really running red, green, blue, I would not include this card because you have a chance of it turning into an absolutely terrible card. Absolutely terrible. Wouldn't recommend. Oh, learn immaterial. I have a couple of these. This is a cornerstone in my stranger deck because you can turn it into pretty much anything you want. The problem with this is if you want to actually play it, because strangers are multi-faction. If you want to play it, you need 5 frost influence, and it's just not going to happen. So if this card enters your hand, it's basically a dead card. And it also reduces your ability to do it because you cheat it out. You don't actually play it. You get another card to summon it because it's got like a cost of 0 or something. All right. Ooh, this guy's interesting. Decay and Ambush, so you can play it on the opponent's turn, which is great. And when he attacks, you gain influence. So basically anything that requires influence, including playing cards or cards that change, especially like him, he has one, right? Card is really good for getting that. And once you reach 6 pips, which is actually pretty easy to do if you're constantly attacking with this guy, you can attack with this guy like twice, and you'll probably have enough. At the start of your turn, steal the enemy's remaining power this turn. Yeah, so basically you get anything that they don't spend, which is ridiculous. So it encourages them to maybe overplay, or it also makes it so that way they can't cast spells on your turn. It's pretty good. Lord Ragnar. Centaur? There are centaurs, there aren't a lot of them. If any of your units or relics have ultimate blues, they get those effects again. Okay, it's an overcosted card. It's got decent stats, but it's got quick draw, so I mean, like, if you need to swing with something, I would definitely do it with this, but the summon ability is not amazing. I don't think this is a good card, and it's at 6 in a red with 2 pips. I don't know if I'd run it, to be quite honest with you. Probably not. 6 is too high. I mean, this is just land. These are really good because if you're constantly pumping out land, you basically this becomes a more useful card as time goes on. You can play it early on and just not get the benefit, but land is typically very powerful in any game that it requires it, and specialty land is also good. So it's worth 2 influence, so it's always worth it. All right, gotta restart this now. That happened. We're almost there. We're almost there. All right, let's see what we get. Delay. Negate an enemy spell, put it on the enemy hand. Play a Minotaur equal to that spell's cost. Or play a Minotaur equal to your influence. Okay, not a great card. Cost 5 to negate a spell. Not a great card. And like they get the spell back, so they'll just play it next turn. The Minotaur that gains cost to it, it's very rare that anybody's going to play a spell cost above 5. And even if they are, at most you get a 5/5 Minotaur and they get their card back. At worst, you know, whatever it is they're going to cast, if it really costs that much, is probably going to be more devastating than whatever the Minotaur is. So, not a great card. I would say that there's only downsides to playing it and almost no pluses. I would dust it. Ooh, this one's interesting. This is, still has a bunch of different cards. It's costed in a weird way because it requires it has a high influence cost in Shadow, but it has Plunder on it. So basically, Plunder allows you to turn any card you want in your hand into mana. Like it'll turn it into the color that it is supposed to be. So like if it's a purple card, it'll turn it into purple. If it's a like a double card, it'll randomly pick. And I don't remember what happens if you do it for neutral cards. I think it just gives you any random mana. But if you have mana in your hand, it can also turn it into a card that says pay 2, draw 1, right? So I would say that it's pretty good. Also, when she dies, she at least leaves a flying lifesteal creature on you, which means that you can play weapons on it, you can attack with it, you can block with it. It's 2 for 1, and it's also good because if you have any other cards that have 5 or more attack, you can eventually get as many vampire bats as you have. This is a pretty good card. It's got Decay on it, so anything that it hits or hits it will permanently lose stats, right? So you could potentially, even if they get rid of it, it's got 1, so they can dink it with something. But if they have to get rid of it with a creature, they will lose that creature forever. They're not getting it back, and that's more valuable these days than you might think. Oh, another one. All right, I'm not gonna explain that again. All right, Empire of Glass was the set before I started playing again. I took like a big break Omens of the Past was like the second set, is where I played a lot, and then like I took a big break, and then it was this next one. So Empire of Glass was the one before it. So I don't have a ton of these cards, but there's like a ton of Sentinels in here. Empire of Glass was a really cool set. Flying, regen, steal an enemy relic. All reappropriator has equal rate of the relic's cost. Okay, so basically, as long you can steal a relic 3 or less, but if it's buffed in your hand, you can steal higher ones. There's a shadow deck that involves doing this, and I mean it's flying and regen, which means that it can take damage once and it not matter. That includes deadly, so that's a halfway decent card. I would draft it. Let's see. Learn the truth. One of your units becomes awakened. Awakened is just like a type. Each of your units in your market gets that and becomes awakened. Interesting. One of your units becomes awakened. Each of your units in your market gets that units and becomes awakened. Okay, so I mean so there are lots of cards that trigger based on the fact that they are awakened. So like if 2 awakened attack, do this. So you can turn any card you want into that, and it turns all the cards in your market into awakened, which I would say would be good enough to run this if you're doing an awakened thing. But it also gains that unit's stats. So like this is a pretty good card, I would say. I don't know if you could play too many of these, but like one would pretty much set you up for the entire game. So I'd run that at 4. All right. Cast Iron Furnace. Deal 1 damage to the enemy player. Then if you have 5 or more factionless cards in your board, play a Dragon Simulacry. This is a power card? Okay, so I mean, if you're doing any, so Frenzy is a thing where like if the enemy takes damage, something happens. If you even just have one of these, this would be perfect in any Frenzy deck. It doesn't give you any influence, but like that's not what this is for. And if you happen to have factionless cards in your void, you get a free card. So I mean, I would run these at 4, especially if you're running any deck with Frenzy. Let's see. 4 Sanitizer. This was also when they started really buffing Sentinels. This and the next one have a lot of great Sentinel cards. I have that Sentinel deck that kind of sucks now, but it was fun when it was fun. Regen and flying while there's a non-weapon relic in your void. Okay, because Sentinels tend to like stuff with relics. This is probably not a bad card. I would need to really think about the type of deck I'm making. I'm gonna say this one's decent, but I wouldn't draft this. Kudzu's Technique. I think Kudzu is the name of there's like a lot of technique cards. The Kudzu is a weird looking plant. Silence each enemy with flying, or give one of your mandrakes +2 daily for this turn, or create and draw a random mandrake. I would say that the first ability is pretty good, especially if you know that you're going to be against a lot of flyers. Sometimes you just know. The meta typically revolves around 2 to 3 decks that all pretty much do the same thing. So like if you know everyone's playing flyers, this is a really good card. The other 2 involve mandrakes, and while there are mandrake decks, I haven't seen any ones that are amazing. So I would say it's good, just it depends. Molder Muck. When Molder Muck attacks or blocks, it deals 1 damage to itself, then play an exact copy of it. Oh, these things are super cool, dude. It has decay. It's a 3 for 4/4. So this is a pretty good card. I would absolutely draft this. It does deal damage to itself, which means that it will take like if something with 3 attacks it, blocks it, it will kill itself. But it will also create a copy of itself, so it might be fine. It has decay, so the thing that blocks it will permanently be damaged. But also anything that triggers things taking damage, this is a really good thing for that, because all you have to do is swing or block. So great card, would recommend. All right, this is I ended up on the tail end of this. I wish I had known that the Sentinels were being popular earlier. I would have jumped back in. Revelations is the set that I technically started on, and then it was right next to Cold Hunt, which is the one that I have that I really it's one where I grinded out all of the campaigns. You can get everything in this game for free, more or less. Gain power this turn equal to the highest units. This is another like high-costed gain power card, and like I mean you might have something in red that has like 7, so I mean you'd gain an additional, like it's I wouldn't call this free, but you'd gain like an additional 3 power, right? But that's okay. No, that's all right. No, I'm good. I'm good, thanks. That's okay. I think that's not a great card. All right, what do we get? The Last Carnosaur. Stealth. Okay, so when you play it down, the opponent doesn't get to see what it is, but like if you, so this has 6, right? So let's say I have a spell card in my hand that says kill something with 6 or more, or 6 or less. It would show that I'm able to cast it on the unit. So there are ways that they can kind of guess what it is based on its cost and based on its based on whether or not spells can be played on it. So, but like otherwise, it's invisible basically until it attacks. Like until the attack goes through, I guess. So like when you block it, you won't know what you're blocking until the attack goes through. The start of your turn, reveal Last Carnosaur and give your units killer. Okay, so I mean, this has to be revealed on your turn for the ultimate to go off, but making your units into bombs that can destroy threats at your choice is pretty good. And at 5/2, I would say this is a fantastic card. Fantastic. A Waxing Moon, an amazing card. This is card draw and deadly. So the cool thing about deadly is anytime you have a unit deal damage, like when it says this unit deals damage, if it's deadly, it will kill whatever it is, right? The damage it deals is also deadly. So this temporarily puts deadly on your units, means that you have a wall that will at the very least be trades for your opponent if they want to swing. And every other turn it lets you draw. I would say it's pretty good. I have it. I have this in one of my lifesteal decks. I can never get it out appropriately, but this is a very good card. Very good card. Run 4 of these. All right, Voltage Generator. This is a Grenadin. They had Grenadin support in this. There's like Gren is a guy. I don't know why they're I don't know. When Voltage Generator attacks, increase the damage of the top spell of your deck. Terrible card. Terrible card. Maybe there's some play with this that you can do. Like you have to swing with this, and it's only the first spell, and like 1 spell damage is almost never enough to deal with your problem. No, absolutely not. Okay, we're reaching the final stretch here. All right. Oh, Nothing Remains. I hate this card so much. It's just more removal. It's cheaper removal. If you're running green purple, you probably will have the pips to play this on turn 4. I hate this card. It's just more mass removal. The nice thing is, if you're playing this against decks that go into the graveyard and pick stuff up, you know, you want to run this, but I didn't think that there needed to be a cheaper option for removal, especially for green purple, which is a very popular combination. Ugh. At least I have more, right? You know, I didn't have a full set of those. Only the beginning. Inscribe. Inscribe lets you play it as a depleted sigil whenever you want. They should just put this on all cards. No longer will you have dead cards in your hand. Unfortunately, these don't count as power, and you're required to have a certain amount of power in your deck. So, it's annoying, but Inscribe is really nice, especially for high-costed cards. There are some ridiculous high-costed cards that have Inscribe on them. Play 3 units from your void that died this turn. This turn is kind of annoying, but it's a fast spell, so you can play it on the opponent's turn, which is nice. It depends. This is not a bad card, especially because it has Inscribe on it, but it depends. Oh, it's the same one. All right. So we got Cold Hunt next. The video is about an hour long at the moment, so there's probably some cutting down I'm gonna do, but I think I'll break this up into 2 videos. So I will be right back.